Okay, let's hope others will join. Okay. open the video so that you can see that the meeting is not chaired by a robot, or it's not an AI generated chairperson. Welcome, honorable members of this committee, and also welcome the Deputy Minister, Dr. Masondo, who's also the chair of PIC. Welcome board directors of PIC and Land Bank, Honorable Squatcher, if he's in the platform. Welcome the support team of this committee, officials from National Treasury and other entities if they are here, and all the parliamentary support teams. You are welcome, and the meeting is officially open. Apologies. I got the apology of Dr. Masondo that he will leave around 11 for another engagement of the department. Do we have other apologies, Sister Tebo?
Yes, we have an apology from Ms. Mauto, who's still in flight, and Mr. Lekhanya.
Mr. Lekhanya is on the platform.
Oh, yes, join. Okay. Thanks very much. Okay, let's move to the next item, which is the briefing by the entities. Let me indicate, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members, we're supposed to be having a Land Bank, a PIC, FFC. We realize that we are not going to do justice to play oversight if we have got three organizations coming in one day for tabling of their reports. We don't want just to do compliance for the sake of compliance. We want fruitful engagements with these entities. And we realize because Land Bank also has got other subsidiaries above the mother company or the holding company. So you are going to have too many presentations, which was going to take much long presenting and then discussions. So we are going to have another meeting to engage the report of FFC. And today is the day when we are supposed to be debating the fiscal framework in the House. In most cases in the past, on the day in which we have got the debate of the fiscal framework, we don't program meetings that morning. It's just that now we are under pressure to make sure that we attend to this, the reports of these entities. Be that as it may, we'll try to move faster, but not leave anyone behind. So moving to the next item, we'll get a briefing by the entities on their audit outcome, findings and action plans. We'll start with the Land Bank group. Over to you. I'm not sure who's presenting, and I will request that you time yourself, as I've indicated that as members today we've got a lot of business to do in the House, so bear with us. But as I've said, I'm not going to stifle presentations and debate. Questions and or comments. Land Bank Group, over to you. 15 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Chairperson. I would like to just firstly start by introducing myself. My name is Jabu Mpambo. I am the acting CEO of the Land Bank. I do have with me on the line some colleagues from the Land Bank. In terms of the presentation, I'll request our CFO to take us through that. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, and good morning to everyone on the call. Thanks, Acting CEO. I just want to check, Chair, if I'm audible.
Yes, we can hear you, but we don't see your screen.
Thank you, Chair. I am going to ask for permission to share my screen. It says the host has disabled attendee sharing the screen. So if I can get permission, please, Chair, through you.
We have made you co-host.
Okay,
We did make you co-host, you and Sydney Soundy.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on my side. Sydney, can I ask that you try on your side, please? Sydney, are you winning? Okay, thank you. I can see it now. So Chair, we are here to present the FY 2025 audit outcomes and the progress on the remedial work that we are undertaking. And the presentation will cover Land Bank Group, which is the bank itself, as well as the insurance companies, the bank subsidiaries.
Can you please adjust the screen so that it's in the presentation mode? Like, can somebody assist? Yeah, there we are. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Next slide, Sydney. So in the report, Chair, we've got the Land Bank Group structure, just for context. We've got the audit outcomes, and then we'll touch on the material audit findings, the remediation progress to date, and then we will conclude. We've also included annexures, Chair, which contains the detailed audit findings for FY 2025 for the group. Next slide, Sydney. So in terms of the group structure, Chair, it's just a refresher. We've got Land Bank, and then we've got Land Bank Insurance. Land Bank Insurance, we've got two companies, which is the Land Bank Insurance Company, that's the non-life, and it focuses on crop. And then Land Bank Life Insurance Company focuses on life policies, Chair. Next slide, Sydney. Some historical context, Chair. So Land Bank has faced several challenges over the years, especially around the audit outcomes. And we found that the loan book management process was one of the biggest challenges. So previously, Land Bank had outsourced management of the majority of its loan book to partners. We have since insourced the book, so we're managing the book largely internally. So we had challenges there, and we have worked through the years to clean that up. And I think we believe that we have been able to manage that process. The past 2 years, however, Chair, the insurance companies have been dealing with bedding down the IFRS 17 accounting standard, and that has proved to be a bit of a challenge. How that translates to the audit outcomes, so this is for group. You'll see that 2020 we received a disclaimer with findings, and then we progressed to a clean audit, which was in 2022. 2023 we got an unqualified with findings, and there were some residual issues that tricked us around the loan book management. And then 2024, 2025, the biggest challenges that we've had as a group is the implementation of the IFRS 17 accounting standard, Chair. This slide shows the audit outcomes through the years for the insurance companies. So you'll notice, Chair, that both companies up until 2023 received clean audits. It was in 2024 when we started experiencing challenges, and that was with the adoption of the IFRS 17 accounting standard, which unfortunately also tricked us in 2025. I must say, Chair, that this picture is not where we would want to be as an organization. Our goal is to achieve a clean audit in line with expectation, not only from the bank, but I think from all our stakeholders. Looking at 2025 specifically, the group, including the insurance companies, obtained an unqualified with findings audit opinion. And some of the matters that the AG raised in the report was that the financial statements did not fully comply with the requirements of accounting standards, the International Financial Reporting Accounting Standards in all material respects. And then material misstatements were identified on the presentation and disclosure. It was actually not just on funding liabilities. I think there was one or two things as well that were materially misstated. Challenges experienced during the FY 2025 audit, Chair. I think the first one is that our F's compilation process is not fully automated. So we do have a tool that we are utilizing for the compilation of the annual financial statements. However, our insurance companies had not fully adopted the tool. In terms of corrective action as we prepare for the 2026 audit, we are working on automation, fully automating the annual financial statements. Unfortunately, the cyber incident has disrupted that process. Before then, we were at 96% complete. We're currently having to rebuild some of the work that we had done. We are making good progress, but we are cognizant that time-wise it's going to be a challenge. We also had capacity challenges, and so in 2025, we had 3 vacancies in total between group and the insurance companies. We have now fully capacitated the teams. And some of those vacancies, Chair, it's where somebody decided, I've had enough, and they literally upped and left, and we had to make a plan. But for 2026, we're now fully capacitated, so we believe that has been adequately addressed. And then the third one, as alluded to, we had experienced some delays with the implementation of the remedial actions on IFRS 17. You recall, Chair, we were here last year, and we had indicated to the committee that IFRS 17 was a challenge. Unfortunately, there were some delays last year, which again tripped us. What we have done to address, Chair, is that we have implemented monthly reporting on IFRS 17 from September 2025. So it's now part of our day-to-day process. We also have augmented our capacity through the appointment of 3 IFRS 17 specialists to the LBI finance team. And then we also working with, now we actually have reappointed a firm that assisted us last year to just help us get this process over the line, Chair. Next slide, Sydney. Okay, so talking to the summary of audit findings, the way so all of the findings that are included here, I must highlight, Chair, that they were addressed during the audit last year, and we have put in process remediation or corrective steps to make sure that we don't find ourselves here again. So some of the findings were around presentation and disclosure. There were a number of findings here, but one of the things that we find, and if you contrast where we are now and where we were when we achieved a clean audit, we found that time has been our biggest challenge, Chair. So we believe that automation of the Fs as well as timely preparation of the Fs will help us address some of these issues. We had a legacy issue on some of the swaps that we have in the bank coming from 2017. That there wasn't, the AG found that there was an issue with that. We did correct it, and we have put a process in place to again make sure that that is adequately addressed. Next slide, Sydney. Chair, the next ones, I'm not going to go through them in detail because they're all related to the adoption or implementation of IFRS 17. So there's a number of things that we have done in that regard. The first one was to make sure that we report on IFRS 17 on a monthly basis. The second one was that we've done a data cleanup, because if you look at the error, that's the first item, it relates to data. So we've done a full data cleanup to make sure that all our our information is correct. And then the third one is to make sure that we've adequately capacitated. So we believe that the IFRS 17 issue, with all the steps that we have taken and implemented, we should be able to adequately addressed such that we don't find ourselves where we found ourselves over the past 2 financial years, Chair. Next slide, Sydney. This is also related to IFRS 17, so I think we can move on to the next slide. I think let's go to the next slide, Sydney. I'd like to talk to the remediation process. Thank you. So the bank is running an audit remediation process, Chair, and how that is being managed is there's an operational level. So this is the teams for both group and land bank insurance who are driving the work. And then there's a management oversight committee called the Joint Audit Remediation Committee that is chaired by the CEO. And that is run under in terms of reporting, there's the Audit and Finance Committee, which is a board subcommittee on the bank side or from a group side, and then the Audit and Risk Committees, which is also a board subcommittee on the insurance side. They have oversight, or they provide oversight at board level over the work, the remediation work that we're doing, and of course, then they will report to the board of the land bank. So for this year, the focus has been, as I indicated, to address and remediate the residual challenges identified through the FY 2025 audit. We started the work last year, Chair. Unfortunately, the cyber incident did interrupt the work, and we did lose some of the files, which we are now having to rebuild. But like I said, we think we will be able to still meet the legislated timelines in terms of submission of the Fs. I'm not going to touch on the IFRS 17 implementation. I have covered it. If there are further questions, we'll address it then. And then on the automation, like I said, we were about 95, 96% complete pre the cyber incident. We had to rework. So as at the 12th of March, we were sitting at 60% in terms of the rework that we're talking about. We think we will be able to complete end of April and be ready to submit the annual financial statements on time. We are also working on optimizing our financial statements, and it's really just to make sure that every single line item in the financial statements is accounted for in line with the accounting standards. The work has commenced, and it's continuing. So that's really the core of the work. We're not, as we do this work, Chair, we're not overlooking other aspects of the business as well. We're also making sure that other items, even though we didn't have findings on them, we continue to make sure that they are accounted for properly. We have all the information and all our controls are working as intended. So in conclusion, Chair, the goal is really to stabilize the control environment. So we're enhancing and stabilizing the control environment to make sure that we address all the root causes and ensure our audit outcomes going forward are what we are looking for, which is a clean audit. I have touched on when we initiated or commenced the remediation work, which was last year, interrupted by the cyber incident. We have resumed the work, and we are pushing to get to make sure that we conclude the work in time to allow us to finalize the annual financial statements and submit to the Auditor General on the 31st of May as required by the PFMA. Chair, I will stop here and we will take questions if there are any. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that presentation and also using 15 minutes of your allocated time. Land Bank Insurance Company. Over to you.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members. The presentation that the Group CFO did, it's all inclusive, and it also catches the audit issues relating to the insurance entities, also including the remedial actions. Chairperson, just to highlight the issues relating to the audit finding on the insurance side relates to the implementation of the new accounting standard as highlighted by CFO. And indeed, this being a new standard, on hindsight, we believe operationally we were not sufficiently capacitated, both in terms of the technical skill set and the hard numbers of people to do the work. Further to that was issues around fit for purpose data. It turned out that the way that the standard reports requires a completely different approach to data, which we did not have ready at the time. And then the last point relates to manual processes. The standard requires fit for purpose data in a certain format, and we better to just get that all in on time. And in the process, a few errors that cropped up during the reporting. But all of that has been remediated. A key point being that as we speak today, we are already reporting on IFRS 17, which means that our readiness for next audit round is going to be much easier, because we're not translating from the old standard into the new standard during the audit itself. that all of that work is done and it's ready. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Land Bank. The next is PIC, Dr. Masondo. Mr. Dlamini, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. The Chair of the Standing Committee on Finance, Dr. Joe Maswanganyi, honorable members, and all the colleagues from the Land Bank and everyone present on this platform. Good morning. Chair, without further ado, because we press for time, may I ask the CEO of the PIC, Mr. Patrick Dlamini, to take us through together with the CFO. Over to you, CEO.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair and members. I would also love, Chair, with your permission, to ask our CFO to take us through the slides. Thank you very much, Chair. CFO.
Thank you, Chairperson, and to the CEO, and good morning to the Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. I am just going to be taking you through the contents, which is the audit outcome, the summary of the audit findings, and then we'll take you through the progress to address the findings on the performance information, the expenditure management, the procurement and contract management, and also the assets under management. We'll then take you through the material irregularity that has been identified by the Auditor General on the investments, Daybreak, and Enable Capital. On the audit outcome, we have 3 areas. If you go to the next. Yeah. We have got 3 outcomes. Next, thank you. On the annual financial statements, you will see that we all have the unqualified with no material findings for the past 3 years on our financial efficiency statements, which means that our financial statements have been prepared free of material misstatements. On the audit of predetermined objectives, which is our annual performance report, we had material findings under our objective 3, which looks after customers and stakeholders. And we have had these material findings for the past 2 years. And on compliance, we have had non-compliance under the expenditure management in the year under we are reporting under 2025, and revenue management for the past 2 financial years. And under assets under management, we have had material findings, which is non-compliance to investment processes for the past 3 financial years. And this, Honorable Chair, relates to the investments that we place on behalf of our clients, where they only do non-compliance and not necessarily the financial statements. The summary of the audit findings, you will see that in terms of our IT audit, we have had an improvement from the previous financial year, where we had 12 audit findings, and we only had 3 in this financial year we are reporting under. And those relate to the unlisted investment system, where the auditors felt that we have underdeployed in relation to that system when using it. And so also the utilization and the administrator activities had the findings which were not material, and they were only administrative. On the contract and on the procurement and contract management, there we have had a regression, Chair, with 11 audit findings, and compared to the 2 that we had in the previous financial year. And also that I will touch on is that assets under management, where we had 13 audit findings as compared to 5 in the previous year. And as indicated, and I will take you through those which are non-compliance with investment processes. We move to the next. So the progress to address these findings, one relating to the annual performance report, and those relate to the deficiencies in the performance information, where we were not defining the key performance indicators in terms of the technical indicator description. So that meant that the targets were not well defined and therefore all measurable. The steps that we've taken, we have then prepared a technical indicator description document that will address the SMART principles findings that we had and ensure that these are incorporated in our corporate plan so that these KPIs are easily measurable. And these have since been shared with the Auditor General. We had this finding in the 2023-24 financial year. However, even though it was corrected, it could not be corrected in the corporate plan because it had already been approved. And hence it became a repeat audit finding. But for 2026-2027, that corporate plan that has been approved is incorporating these SMART principles. On the expenditure management, we had irregular expenditure in relation to the non-compliance with our remuneration policy. So some of the approvals that were done on the pay scale adjustments were not in line with the delegation of authority. And that was as a result of the vacancies that we had in Human Resources Department. And we have since filled these vacancies with the skilled permanent employees. We now have the head of HR. We also have the remuneration manager to ensure that there is oversight in these HR-related policies. We have also then looked at the remuneration policy to ensure that we address all these inconsistencies that led to the irregular expenditure. We also had fruitless and wasteful expenditure, which was non-compliance to the Value-Added Tax Act, and this related to the VAT apportionment for the years between 2011 and 2021, where we did not apply for the VAT apportionment with SARS, and that resulted in the interest that was charged on that VAT of 16 million. However, the penalties, because we entered into the voluntary disclosure program in 2023, was reversed of 9.7 million, so we did not have to pay that. It was only the interest of 16 million that was recognized as a fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Going forward, we have since applied the VAT apportionment. However, in this current year, that is no longer applicable because the SARS has since issued the binding general rule number 16, which was issued in this current financial year. So we would not be needing a VAT apportionment, and we do not see that we have problem with any of the Value-Added Tax Act issues. The one before that is the procurement and contract management, where we had audit findings around the non-compliance with our procurement policies, and it was the RFPs that had been identified to have had errors in applying the minimum number of suppliers that we have approached, and also relating to the price and the BEE that was applied to some of these requests for proposals, as well as the allocation and calculation of the preference points as per the procurement policies. And these, Chair, we have now performed a review on the policy and ensured that there's alignment. We used to have two procurement policies that looks after our assets under management for investments and also for our corporate procurement. And these have now been aligned to be in line with the PPPFA, and the policy has been approved by the board as well. We have also made sure that in our consultation with the National Treasury, as AG would select a sample, we've then looked at all the transactions that relate to the past 2 financial years, as they would be audited to test this non-compliance to ensure that we have covered those and there's no irregular expenditure with those. The misalignment with the corporate procurement policy has also been attended to in terms of aligning it to the delegation of authority, and that has been approved. And we've also ensured that our properties procurement register is reviewed on a quarterly basis, as there were inconsistencies that have been found. We've also aligned our SOP, and we do workshops on this chair and training to ensure that with the new approvals that the employees are trained on the new procurement policy. We'll move to the assets under management. The non-compliance day related to the investments that were not monitored as required in terms of our procurement policy. And this resulted in so the monitoring was actually happening, but it was done by the deal team. So our standard operating procedure requires that the post-monitoring team is the one that monitors the investments, even though the disbursements had not been done. So you'll find that monitoring is being done, but it's done by a different team. So that is what was identified by Auditor General. And we have since revised the SOP and for post-monitoring evaluation, and ensured that they can only start monitoring the investments after the disbursements. And we've also provided training to our employees just to make sure that there is alignment and understanding with the investment processes. And in terms of our disbursements, it was identified that some investments were not in compliance with the investment policies. And as indicated, these ones, the disbursement process was then revised and also approved by the board to ensure that there is clarity in the different investments that are require due diligence, as the due diligence for new investments and also due diligence for follow-on funding requests is different. So that clarification was required. We also had the audit finding in relation to the investment decisions that had been taken, which the Auditor General felt that they were not aligned with Section 10.4 of our PIC Act. And the 2 investments that were identified, which led to a material irregularity that was identified, is Enable Capital and Daybreak. If I take you to the specific material irregularities on Daybreak, it related to the insufficient due diligence performed, insufficient due diligence that was performed on these investments when they were disbursed. The Auditor General identified 16 action items, of which 6 of the items had already been completed and verified with internal audit. We still have 10 of these out of the 16 that we are still in progress, and we are working on them. And just to note, Chair, that Daybreak was placed under business rescue, and the meetings that have been happening with the Chief Restructuring Officer and the BRP practitioner we have been having weekly meetings on that, and the other issue which we've subsequently addressed was relating to the security. That was a condition subsequent, so it meant that we were only going to be registering the bond of this security after we had dispersed, and the Auditor General raised a flag on that, but it has since been registered and it is in place for the investment that was audited and identified as a material irregularity. On the Enable Capital, we had done all the appropriate steps that needed to be actioned, and the AG was satisfied with these actions. Of the 16 actions that had been identified, 11 of them which had been completed and verified, but 5 of them which we continue to monitor. And the steps that still needs to be taken, Chair, is in relation to the full recovery of the potential loss. We had already disbursed 100 million to Enable Capital, and the total amount that was approved was 200. And to show that the monitoring processes were done, when the request for the subsequent disbursement was done for the next 100 million, that's when it was identified that there were undue processes happening within Enable Capital. We have also ensured that we've initiated delinquency proceedings against all those directors who were involved, and they have been reported with DPCI, and the external audit findings on the external auditors, apologies, have also been reported with ERBA. We've also reported the CFO to SICA, as well as reporting the CEO to the CFA Institute, which is the institutes that they were registered on our registration policy. I will leave it there, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, let's move to the next. Switch off your microphone, PIC. Thank you. Let's move to the next item. Those are the presentations, honorable members, on the audit outcome, the actions to deal with the audit outcomes from both the PIC, the land bank, and the subsidiaries. So, honorable members, you can ask questions, you can comment. Then, in that order, I'll request land bank, PIC, to respond to those questions. Let me take the hands. Dr. Berg, Honorable Van Doyen. Those are the 2 hands that I have so far. Honorable Sukwati. Okay. Dr. Berg.
Thank you, Chairperson. I've got 4 questions, all of them for the PIC. The first is on the turnaround and value add unit. We know by reading the Party Commission implementation report that the turnaround and value add unit is a key solution, but we've read that the Auditor General is concerned about this unit's capacitation. We've also seen media reports that PIC is looking for turnaround experts. Could the PIC please state to us either the Deputy Minister or the CEO, what is the current state of this turnaround unit? And then on Daybreak, I'm glad to see there's focus on Daybreak and its financials. However, we see that one Aubrey Darley has become the most recent in a very, very long list of Daybreak executives placed on precautionary suspension. Could the PIC please clarify why was he placed on suspension? And please be very specific in your answer. Still with the unlisted investments, Bambili. This is a recent investment. We see based on a written question, the PIC made a 30 million rand investment in this company, which it now values at little more than 3 million rand. And I want to know who shot Bambili. Why is the company valued so low now? Then personnel at the PIC. In December, when the CEO was here in front of this committee, he said that the disciplinary matters regarding senior officials would be finalized reasonably early in the new year. Could you now confirm, have all of these matters been finalized? For example, when it comes to the former CIO, when we read the relevant financial statements once they are published, are we going to find out it was another golden handshake situation? Thank you, Chair. Those are my questions for now.
Thanks, Dr. Beck. Honorable Van Rooyen.
Thank you very much, Chair, and very good morning to all in attendance. Mine is just two short questions. From the Land Bank presentation, there was an indication of a cyber problem that they encountered, and I didn't hear them saying how are they dealing with that situation, just to make sure that their operations are insulated from a future cyber, attack or maybe a cyber invasion. Secondly, the PIC, a mention was made of officials who have been reported to various professional institutions. I'm not sure what's the follow-up mechanism to track how those institutions deal with those individuals, because at times matters are referred and we don't get feedback on how they were finally resolved. And that's why some of these people, you see them resurfacing in other institutions because there was no thorough follow-up made with these professional institutions. Can we get an indication from the PIC on measures that are in place to make sure that there is a proper follow-up with these professional institutions on these officials that have been referred to these institutions? Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable Van Rooyen. Honorable Scott.
Thanks, Chair. Mine is, it would be three questions. One is from the Land Bank Insurance. And the first one, Chair, is to check on what has been the losses, or what did the bank, or how far did the bank suffer in terms of losses, in terms of that are created by mismanagement due to the polling system. And secondly, Chair, is that most of the bank's challenges are linked to systems that are adopted by the bank and provided by the external providers. And what's the ideal financial capacity and capability required by the bank to undertake many of the functions related to accounting and reporting systems? I'm saying this, Chair, because if the bank is going to be relying on external service providers and they continuously suffer losses or setbacks, and yet they're not looking at building internal capacity, it becomes a problem, because then you end up just adopting either practices or taking up solutions that they are not going to assist the entity. To PIC, Chair, I see a lot of areas it's non-compliant, and it's actually being said to be from compliance in terms of policies. And I see in a lot of areas it's the revisions of policies, this and that and that. And I'm saying in terms of policies that the PIC has created, it's not, I don't think it's because of the revision of policies is because we don't stick to the policies. Because what AG does is to check as to whether the policies that are in existence are actually in line with the practices within the entity. So I see most of the areas it's would want to blame it in terms of alignment of policy and practice. And I think we need to really relook at that, because it's more of a human error. It's not really the policies, because if a policy says A and yet the application says B, therefore you're going to have a non-alignment, and that's where the Auditor General comes in. Secondly, Chair, what's the inherent risk in the market, and how does PAC ensure it de-risks poor performing investments without negatively impacting economic sectors and industrial players who contribute in a multifaceted ways to the economy? And the last one, Chair, is with regard to enable capital. Many asset managers have invested in the company, and what has been the response of other major investors, and who are these other investors in this enable capital? Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Squati. Those are the questions. Comments. Let's start with Land Bank, then we'll come to PIC. Land Bank, please respond to questions that are for you from the members.
Good morning once again. Thank you, Chairperson. I will respond to the cyber problem question, and I'll request either the MD or the CFO to respond to the other questions. With regards to the cyber, maybe let me start by saying we are now operating under BAU. Even though our website is still off, operations on the ground have resumed, activity is back to normal. The question is mainly geared towards future-proofing the organization from similar attacks that may arise. What we have done, in addition to short-term interim measures, which would include, as part of restoring operations, we had to strengthen security protocols, leveraging the services of the technical service provider that's been assisting us. So already there's work that's gone into ensuring that we strengthen some protocols. However, we do note there is a need for us to strengthen our security or IT infrastructure with a medium to long-term view. And as a result, we had to go to board with a proposal of remediation actions that should be taken as soon as possible. That proposal was approved by our board, and in the coming financial year, we seek to then start implementing that. You'll recall that the bank was in default for almost 3 years or so, and during that time, there was no opportunity to invest in IT infrastructure, of course, driven by limitations in terms of our capital position. However, given the recent board update, we do see this as an urgent need, and hence the board has been supportive to ensure that we proceed on that basis. So there are plans to invest in IT related infrastructure. There was also a question regarding the use of external service providers. Where we use external service providers, it's software as a service in most cases. And the underlying approach that we are adopting is to have our own internal system. For instance, one of the things that was included in the IT remediation plan is to invest in a core ERP system for the bank. Of course, you'll know that with most IT systems, there will be an involvement of external service providers. We're a bank, we're not an IT organization, so we do rely on expertise from relevant institutions. Suffice to say that the focus is to ensure we have our own internal systems, which will be included as part of the remediation. Let me ask the CFO to respond, or the MD to respond to the questions regarding the BroLink as well as Land Bank Insurance. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Chairperson. Thanks for the question on Broadlink. So indeed, we have historically relied on rented systems with partners in the market, and Broadlink has been one where we hosted our data. We did have a data transfer issue which related to the path that wasn't pulling correctly, which meant that the data could not be retrieved timeously. There was no financial loss, but clearly it's undesirable not be able to extract data when you need to. So it pretty much was an opportunity cost on our side. The member is quite correct that there's always issues with external systems. And I can confirm that we are in the process to onboard our own internal insurance system. That work started in Q3, which was in 2025, and will be concluded by June 2026. By end of this month, we'll have 2 of our core products live on the system and transacting, and the rest will then be enabled by the end of June. So we are mindful that we have to start creating capacity and capability in-house, and that process is well on track. Thank you, Chairperson.
If we're done, questions from the side of Land Bank. PIC?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Chair and honorable members. I will start with Dr. Burke's questions on TOVA. We are busy capacitating actually various parts of the organization, and TOVA, yes, is one of those. And indeed, we are actually trying to make sure that we can do much more better and be much more proactive in how we identify companies that actually are showing signs of weaknesses. This actually talks to our new model of cradle to grave, to make sure that we are able to intervene much more in time, as opposed to seeing when actually things are already in a not so good condition. So TOVA capacity, we are busy actually beefing it up, Honorable Chair. And we actually have some new members that have just started working there. Yes, we had also some retirements in the space, but we are looking at strengthening TOVA and making sure that we are able to look also at our policies to enable the much more quicker decisions. We've been engaging with some of our partners, including the commercial banks, on how they are dealing with the distressed assets and how they have been able to ring fence and to make sure that there is decisive action, and also where there are some requirements for recapitalization for these companies, that we are able to make sure that that process happens much more quicker and in line with our policies. So it is work in progress. And yes, indeed, the going out was more actually the usual capacity that we normally ask for turnaround specialists. Where necessary, we can be able actually to tap onto that database. It was more for the database, so that members of the public who have the skill set in working with the various distressed assets, we can always be able to have that database available for us to tap into as and when required. It was not like we are shutting down TOVA and we will be handing these over to other specialists. But we are, as an initiative and as a strategy, are looking at beefing up and making sure that these assets that are there at various stages and which are distressed are attended to much more swiftly, much more quicker, because others actually have a lot of promise in terms of the turnaround. And yes, others are somewhat actually at a much more difficult space, but we're looking at attending and addressing all these assets accordingly. So it is a matter that is uppermost in our mind, because we do believe that the return actually of the equity of the shareholders is extremely important. And these assets, of course, we need to do the best we can to turn them around and make sure that we can be able to save jobs and be able actually to save the money of our clients that has been invested in these assets. So it is that actually we are looking at TOVA and ongoing capacitation to make sure that we are able to have the requisite capacity at this level. But what we are also seeing is that we have quite a number of companies that are distressed that really require a much more augmented capacity, and we're working on that, Honorable Chair, on this one. On coming back to Daybreak, the CFO's suspension, we were advised by the BRP practitioner that it is actually on the back of the allegation of gross misconduct against the CFO, and that the investigation into this are fully underway, and we are awaiting progress accordingly. So we are working quite closely with the BRP in this regard, and we will see how actually it progresses. But it is a matter that is still under investigation, Honorable Chair. The Pambili matter will be attended to by the CFO. Let me jump to the disciplinary and also the suspension. Yes, our CIO, we have since agreed to part ways with him, but I must highlight that no incentives, short or long term, were paid other than normal commercial terms separations in this regard. As regards to the other acting head of Unlisted who was on suspension, the disciplinary process is underway as we speak. It has said for the second time that there's going to be another sitting. So there's going to be another sitting in this regard, but the process is still underway. And we are moving on, Chair, in this regard. And we have also advertised the CIO positions, so to make sure that we are able to beef up the capacity within the organization and make sure that attention into all the right areas is taking place. CFO on the evaluation. Thank you.
Okay, so on Bambili, the valuation is for the funds. You will find that we will disperse for the management fees at the beginning, and they will continue to request for disbursement, and only at a later stage when they start to invest in the underlying assets, we then start monitoring. So we normally give it about 2 years, because an investment in the fund would be for 10 years. And therefore, in the latter years, you will see that the management fees are covered by the returns that you will get in a fund. So because it's still the early stage where the fund is still just drawing on the management fees, that's why you just see that the value is reducing. And only when they start investing in those underlying assets, we're going to start seeing the valuation going up. Thank you.
If I may come in, then Honorable Chair, Dr. Van Rooyen asked questions on all the reported matters that were reported to the law enforcement authorities and as to the status of all these matters. And these are the matters that are with the law enforcement authorities. They do update us accordingly, but as we had proposed last time that these matters, given that these matters are now with the Ministry of Police and their respective law enforcement agencies, maybe through you, Honorable Chair, I think the best update could be better sought from the Ministry of Police, given our limited of influence in terms of how these matters are progressed and how they are prioritized. Because all we do is just to do our part in terms of the reporting, but we cannot influence the prioritization. We cannot influence the pushing of these matters through the various pipelines or how the law enforcement agencies actually prioritize and deal with them. But we do provide all the requested information if they do need or evidence that we do have at our disposal, and we leave it from there. But as to how far they are, I am not in a position to tell on that one. But I think the response could be better sought from the Ministry of Police, Honorable Chair. And does Sekwati ask a question on definitely on PSC policy compliance? So these are the matters that we take quite seriously, and we want to make sure that we apply for the enforcement much more strongly. And on the enabled capital, other investors here were Sanlam and Old Mutual, and we are working together, and they are also working with the BRP. And what actually I can say on this one is that some of the monies out of enabled capital have been traced into one of the so-called client or called network. This is the company where a bulk of the money was found to have been channeled through by the senior executives within enabled capital, but this money has now been is now being actually ring fence within that organization, and we are working on trying to recover as much as we possibly can. But we are working with with other investors in this regard, as well as the BRP, and we are continuously working with them in this regard, Chair. We will then keep the committee posted on how we're progressing. But some of the money actually have been traced to this network, so-called network company that was doing fiber with other SMEs as well. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Lindbergh and PIC. Honorable members, do we have follow-up questions? Dr. Della Beck, over to you.
Chairperson, thank you. And also to the PIC for those answers. I'm afraid I spent half a decade as a finance professional and I couldn't make sense of the answer given on Bambili. What we do have in response to a parliamentary question raised before was that in, I believe it was 30 October 2023, 30 million rand went to the business. And as of March 2025, that value sits at 3.155. Now, what I believe I heard the colleague saying is that they have dispersed funds. Management fees have been drawn, I'm assuming, since October 23. But that vehicle, that entity serving as some sort of investment vehicle, has not yet made underlying investments. Unless I'm missing something, or unless the management fees equals 27 million rand from October 23 until now, and no actual investments have been made in that time. Could you just, in simple terms, as if speaking to a child, explain to me exactly what happened so that the value on the books from disbursement at 30 million went down to 3 million? I'm happy to try and understand what's being said. At the moment, I simply don't. And then to the CEO, you mentioned that on the CIO's departure, that this would have been normal commercial terms, the exit. Are you seeing as this will end up in your financial statements anyway? Can you give us the details of what you consider to be normal commercial terms? I will hold my questions for then now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Beck. Any other member want to make a follow-up question? Okay. Okay. PIC, please respond to those follow-up questions from Dr. Beck.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Dr. Berg. We will, may I request, Chair, that we are able to fully respond to this question on valuation and exactly what happened in details through you, Chair, so that we can be able to fully respond on to this matter. And with your permission, Chair. And two, on the CIO, as I said, this mutual separation did not include any incentives, short or long term, as I initially said, but it did talk to the separation as to certain months within a period of 12 months. That's all actually it was focused on. And the unpaid leave that must have been due and payable to the CIO. We looked into those matters and we were well guided in ensuring that it is done along the lines of normal commercial terms, Honorable Beck. And that's where we are, and I'm sure you will also see, as you said, more details in the annual financial reports as it will be reported. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thanks, Mr. Dlamini. There we are. We'll continue to engage PIC and the Land Bank as they continue to come to this committee for annual reports, responding to oral and written questions. So thanks very much. And let's make sure that with this audit action plans that we talk about here, it's not just for the sake of having audit action plans, but to make sure that we improve the governance of the entities that we are leading. You know that from time to time, Parliament has raised sharply the issue of governance of SOEs. And we are happy that there are those entities that are showing signs of improvement, be it DPSA, ITC, PIC, GPF, SAFCOL, SAA, and others, so that you don't come here and think we don't appreciate. And also Land Bank. If you remember where Land Bank was some years back, it was in a very bad state. Be that as it may, we see improvements. And you will remember last time, Land Bank, when you appeared before this committee, there were issues that were raised that we think you have to attend to. Issues of black farmers and emerging farmers, issues of youth in the agricultural sector, issues of women. Those are issues that when you come back here, you should come back with a comprehensive report as to how are you addressing them. Be that as it may, we acknowledge the improvement. And this issue of cyber attack, I think you must attend to it as soon as possible. We can't afford that the state loses very valuable information through those kind of incidents. So get experts to try to retrieve that important information, and try by all means to shield the institution against those attacks. And the same, I think, applies to PIC. So you have to upgrade your IT systems to be up to standard. So let's make sure that, as I've said, these action plans are used to improve governance, deal with the risk management. Like now, we're facing a risk of losing information in the land bank due to cyber, whether it's cyber attack or cyber crime, or it's just an incident that happened. Whatever that has happened has to be attended to, and we must find a way of mitigating those risks in the future. And compliance becomes very, very, very important. As we are leading public institutions, we should remember that we are leading these institutions on behalf of the South African citizens. It's not on our behalf. So let's make sure that when the South African citizens have given us this opportunity to lead these institutions, let's lead them with dignity, professionalism, and make sure that we do things according to the book, comply with the standards as prescribed by the AG and other institutions. So thanks very much. Are there announcements?
Tomorrow we'll be getting a briefing from the FSCA. And I'll send the link later.
Okay. Okay. Thanks very much, honorable members, and Dr. Masondo, the Deputy Minister, Mr. Squacha, if he's in the platform, the Chairperson of Land Bank, the executives of PIC and Land Bank. Thanks very much. The support teams of Parliament, the media, the public, and everybody who's in attendance. Thanks very much. We'll meet this afternoon in the chamber to debate the fiscal framework and revenue proposals report. The meeting is adjourned. As the book has indicated, let's meet again tomorrow in the same platform. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, members. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.